The first time that I hit my mom, I wish I would have told someone sooner. We who abuse hide it.
Nancy Hansen lived together with her mother for most of her life.
And we had wonderful times together. We were close, we enjoyed the same things, and we were a team.
Long before she died, Nancy's mother had a sudden stroke, and Nancy became her caregiver. Nancy's life would never be the same.
The doctor told me that she would need 24-hour care. Oh yeah, I can do it, you know, and we had a bedpan and we had washcloths and everything, and they said that they would send out nurses' aides. I wasn't too bad then. I thought I was doing pretty well. And but as that time went on, I began to deteriorate. I deteriorated because when I would once get awake and the incontinence, both bowel and urinary, was getting ahead of me, I could not get back to sleep. And I started doing laundry at night and stuff, and we'd get her all cleaned up. Sometimes my husband and I would just have to stick her in the bathtub because my husband had rigged up a bell where she could just press it, but she would press it after she was through with everything. So it was just a constant routine. It was like a squirrel's cage for me. I began having very suspicious, angry feelings that my mom was maybe doing some of this stuff on purpose. And that was my first very clear warning, because I lost this. I was beginning to expect normal reactions from someone who was no longer normal. And it got to the point where she didn't any longer want me to take care of her because I was beginning the psychological abuse. The things I said to her were unforgivable. I told her that her brain was like a sieve, that she couldn't remember. And I said, if you don't stop messing up, you know, we're going to stick you in a nursing home. Or, Mom, I'm thinking very seriously about making you lie in it. And I know that you're not going to like that at all. And she would cry and she would say, honey, I don't do it on purpose. And I'd say, get real. I was shoving all kinds of food down my throat. And a lot of times I threw up. You know, I always threw up when I was trying to take care of my mother because I couldn't bear the feces, you know. But I would throw up on my own. And I thought, am I turning out to be a 54-year-old binge and purge? It's a little late to start that, isn't it? Isn't it a little late to start that? And I was really down on myself. And the day that I really knew that I had better get some extra help was that thoughts of suicide were becoming pretty prevalent. And I will never, ever forget the first time that I hit my mom. I was totally losing control. I am a very organized person. I was becoming very angry that I could no longer organize. She would be so slow in getting her clothes on, and then she wanted her makeup put on. And she wasn't always maybe cooperating with me while I was putting on her makeup. And sometimes I would take her face in my hands, and I was entirely too rough. And I'd say, put your head up. I can't, the light, it's dark, Mom, or whatever. I don't see well enough to put your makeup on. And then, I had a whole series of eye drops to do, and because she had these eye diseases. So I'd have to give her the eye drops, and then I'd have to watch the clock And when it was 5 or 10 minutes, I'd have to put the other eye drops in. That's very important to do that accurately. But and I never minded giving her the any medication either. But I would feel awful. I'm not an alcoholic. I didn't belt down a few straight Jack Daniels and then start in on my mom. And I was always careful never to use my fist. Never. I could possibly have killed her because I was so angry. And I have very strong hands. And I have to be careful. There was always, to a certain extent, I know now that I was always bridled. I never really did everything that I could have done. Even when I see that now with the passage of time, there was always a little control. But then sometimes after the makeup ordeal was over, I would shake her. I would say, will you please? Mom, I can't stand much more of this. And I would shake her. And then we'd lose more time because then she'd have to sit down and she'd say, you're hurting me, you're hurting my neck. And little did I know I could have caused another stroke by doing that. I made sure that when I hit her with the flat of my hand so that there wouldn't be any bruises. When I would have to take her to the doctor, I was sometimes scared because I would hit her in the back. And I thought, what if he sees some bruises? My God, what am I going to do? I was afraid of prosecution. I was afraid of maybe I'm losing it. And what if they put me in, what if I really do go off the beam? And then my mom and my husband are left, the two people I love the most. How can I do this? And I'm being buried. I can't get out. And I can't go on, I can't go forward, I can't do anything. All I can do is kill myself. Then you're really going to wimp out, right? Where the hell was I going to go? We who abuse hide it. We are the biggest actors and the biggest hiders in all the world because we're too ashamed. And yet, we are inside. We're crying out, for God's sake, somebody help me. I used to, when I felt it coming on, I used to pound my hands against the wall. There was a special place I did it, and one time I broke some fiberglass, and I would pound, and my arms here would be black and blue, and then I would have to wear long sleeves even in warm weather until the bruises went away. I tried to stop it. In terms of care that my mother expected, she probably never doubted that she would get the very best because she knew what kind of person I was. And I can't imagine how she must have felt the first time she felt my hand. She said, I am so ashamed of you. I am so ashamed that any daughter of mine would hit me. I am so ashamed. What she must have thought, what she went through. Must have been awful. And I would, after an incident, I would take her in my arms and I would rock her. And I'd say, Mom, I agree. I'm not your daughter. I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know. I'm sorry. I deteriorated more and more. And one day I called up the nurse's aide. God, I love that woman. And I told her, please, Veronica, don't come. Don't come here to bathe my mom. I, I can't handle it. She knew that I was really going down. I couldn't handle getting up and getting my mother ready for someone to appear at 8 o'clock in the morning. I would just rather have her a little dirty and smelly and try to catch up later myself. I thought I was good enough to handle it. But she came anyway. And as soon as I opened that front door to her, I absolutely broke down completely. I just cried and I just snapped. And she said, you have got to get some help. I was waiting. I tried to tell you, you can't do everything, Nancy. And then she told me about adult daycare. Things were happening between my husband and myself. I was turning into someone other than he had married. And could it be that maybe I needed somebody else to talk to? By then, my mother was at the center, so I had free time to get her over there, and that gave me freedom to see the therapist. And I think I saw him twice a week in the beginning. We worked extremely well together, and I stuck with him for 7 months while my mom was living, and then after she died, I totally withdrew for 6 weeks, but then I went back for 7 more months because I was dealing with so many conflicts that surfaced while I was taking care of my mom. And I am here to tell you, or anybody else that wants to listen to this point, that if there are unresolved conflicts between the loved one and the caregiver, that is going to blow sky high, depending on the severity of the conflicts that are buried and the strength of the caregiver. I don't think I was a very good caregiver because I broke so soon. But what can you do with 1 hour's sleep, week in, week out? I tried. When she was over at the center, I tried to sleep, but I was hyper. I had power of attorney. I had all of her financial things to take care of. I was trying to be a wife. At that time, I was taking care of all the billing of my husband's business and trying to keep a clear head. I didn't even know what I was doing half of the time. I felt sick. I vomited. It's like, if you can imagine jet lag magnified 100 times. It's that sick, nauseated, do I eat? Do I sleep? Is it time to do the laundry? I couldn't even add. I couldn't add figures, but I didn't tell anybody. I only told my therapist. I was really going to him very frequently, and that took a lot of the pressure off me. But I think one thing, I suggest that physicians, regular family doctors, be perhaps a little bit more in tune. Say, for instance, a family physician knows the caregiver and knows their history, and they all of a sudden go into the doctor's office with an elevated blood pressure. And a doctor should know how to, are you doing anything? What's going on with you? I know now that there were questions. If anybody had asked me a leading question, I would have broke completely. How come you and Eddie don't even get out anymore? You can't get out. And you seem so happy. How can you seem so happy? Is there anything that maybe you would like to share with me? I would have, but nobody asked. Would you like to share grief of what's happened to your mom, that her beautiful, sharp mind is gone? Would you like to tell how really rotten you feel about what's happened to her and your pal is gone? Would you want to talk to me about that, Nance?
Since her mother's death several years ago, Nancy has been volunteering at the same adult daycare center that her mother attended.
But at the same time, I was still trying to make up to my mom. I think about my mom every day, but I'm at that center because I love it. I love what I can give. I love what they can give to me. I love to make them laugh. Some of those people don't have a heck of a lot. I think I'm very helpful with the families, the caregivers, because I have held them in my arms over there when I've seen them. Just they come in that door and we just make eye contact. And I know, and I have just gone and put my arms around them, and they have just, oh God, I can't. But they do, just like I did. I can't go through one more day. But they do. I did. Son-in-laws are really angry. Daughter-in-laws are angry because of the way their married life is being interrupted. And if there are children in a house, that's 3 generations in a house, which is another whole ball game. I have learned too that there is never, ever a sin in needing help. The sin is knowing it and not doing anything. I don't know all the answers, but I know some of them. You got to get it out in the open. Tell a trusted friend. Run to a neighbor, and if you're hysterical, you're hysterical. My God, I hit my mom. What do I do? Tell someone. You've got to tell someone. You have got to tell someone. The caregiver must. It's a beginning.